Good evening, all. We are back. Great to see everybody. Back once more with Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. Back again with two more Tales of the Macabre. And tonight, they are both from short stories of one of my favourite authors, as you guys know, H.P. Lovecraft. But before we get into it, let me say hey to everybody. We have got Dempsey, great to see you. Good evening to Lord Raffle. Good afternoon, whichever you guys prefer. A good evening to Gary Banjos and Whiffs Worthington. Great to see you. Jacob Ironside, hello there. We've got Daniel. So happy to hear that you enjoyed the 4th episode. It was one of my favourites of the series so far. And we've got Zax as well. Great to see you, Zax. And Jaden Hamilton, hello to you too. Good afternoon, good evening, guys. So, big thank you. Probably gonna do a similar format as the previous evening, but let me jump into it with the first episode. So it is Pickman's Model. As I said, both of these based on short stories, and as with the formula that they have set up, both are introduced by our esteemed director Guillermo del Toro before we launch into the episode, and I'm really loving the way that he delivers these the introductions. It's one of my favorite parts. It just makes me smile. Let me say hey as well to Mr. MH, great to see you, and D-Bud Martin, hello, great to see you also. And smile a while for me. Hello, sweetheart. Jaden says, can we see your pretty face? No, not tonight, honey. It's 11 o'clock at night. That's why you've got the avatar. But I will be back on camera on Saturday and Sunday for the shows. So hope to see you guys there. And don't forget, on Saturday on Salty's channel, it's almost Halloween, so we'll be dressing up, which is always fun to do. Let me get back to it. It is Pickman's Model. Now, this is one of the short stories, as I said, by Lovecraft. Not one of my favorites, and to be honest, it wasn't one of a lot of people's favorites. The story itself generally has kind of mixed. So some people think that the plot is too vague, others say it's too explicit, but it worked really well for this particular episode. So it is directed by Keith Thomas. If anyone is familiar with this guy, he's best known for doing the visual and the remake, the 2022 remake of Firestarter. So he knows his way around horror, obviously. And this stars again, and I've talked about how much I'm enjoying the principal cast of each of these episodes. We have Ben Barnes, who plays our main character, Richard, and we have Crispin Glover, who doesn't seem to age. It's really weird. He looks amazing. Who plays Pickman. And he's got this, I guess it's a Boston accent. You guys Americans will have to correct me, but I don't know how accurate the accent was. At times it sounded almost Cockney to me, but what do I know? I don't have an ear for accents when it comes to a lot of the US, unfortunately. But I still enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. So we've talked about a lot of these episodes having a theme that links the two together. And for me, I think obsession covers it for both of these episodes. And to a lesser extent, what will you do to make something come true? Where does the line between reality and fiction and fantasy blur? But definitely obsession, I think, is the overarching theme for this one. Let's see. Hello, we've got Wakazashi says Glover's accent was hilarious. And Daniel says most Americans can't pull off a Boston accent either. I enjoyed it. I've got to admit that to me it had the kind of Cockney kind of twang to it. So I hope he did it justice. Let me say hello to Adega Outlaw. Good evening to you as well. And Neo Sevens. It says, sending my love. Well, right back to you. Great to see you. As always, I hope you're doing well. Let's see. Jaden says, the only thing I've watched by Del Toro is his animated show, Trollhunters. One of my personal favourites with good storytelling, unlike the sea of white garbage. Absolutely agree. Trollhunters is a fantastic show and one that I kind of didn't watch for a long time because I thought it was too kiddie, and but I was wrong. It's a really, really good show. She said it was half Irish, Cockney, half crazy. That's a lot of halves. Yeah, but I'm terrible at math, Gray, so I will go with it. And Lord Doff said East Coast Canadians can pull off that Boston accent too. Nice. And Daniel, you are absolutely correct. We are a fantastic group, and I love you guys. You guys are amazing. Great, I enjoyed the episode as well. So let me get into it. As I said, this is based on the short story, but they've expanded it quite a bit. Now, whereas the short story is basically a lot of monologues by our main character, the story is told from the painter's, Pickman's point of view, and the secondary character, Richard, really doesn't kind of come into it as much. But in this episode, they've actually flipped it. So this is very much Richard's story, and it's he is a aspiring painter, and he comes across this other painter played by Crispin Glover, and he's automatically intrigued by his work, whereas everybody else in this college, which by the way, it was great to see the Miskatonic, another nod to Lovecraft. That was wonderful to see. Basically, they're very what you would expect from painters, very by the book. But this guy, he doesn't paint what he sees, as in like still life, but he paints what's in his head. And the teacher saying you can't do this if it's not there in front of you, don't paint it. And he kind of fires back, and well, maybe this is what I'm seeing. And Richard, who's played by Ben Barnes, William, sorry, I'm getting them mixed up, he's fascinated by this work, and they kind of become friends, or not quite friends, but associates, I guess. But he wants to learn more about him and what kind of drives him. Where are you getting these visions? Where are you getting this artwork? And the one thing that I really did love about this episode is what they did with the paintings. They're all designed like oil paintings, but they're almost animated. So when you see them on screen, they move subtly. It's kind of trippy, especially with the music. There's this kind of orchestral music going on constantly in the background that kind of ebbs and flows depending on what's going on. It's very effective. Let's see what else you guys have got to say. Yeah, Bucks actually really enjoyed the episode. Me too. And great to see you guys. Thank you, D-Bud, for putting out the links. I appreciate it. But the more that his character William gets to know Pickman, he realizes, he's got quite a kind of dark past. Basically, he can trace his familiar line back to the Salem witches, and that's kind of he said that this kind of runs in his family, and his family have had a lot of tragedy. His mother uh, self-deleted, I guess would be the best way to put it, as a child. This caused his father to go mad after, and this kind of fueled his trauma, and he kind of travelled all over Europe for a while and then returned back to Arkham and took up being a painter, and it's been there ever since. And he's this kind of reclusive character that everybody knows, but nobody really wants to be around. Where do we get to? So this kind of escalates the more that they get to know each other, and our main character Thuba, gets kind of drawn into it, and he decides that he doesn't want anything to do with these paintings. He senses evil from them, and the more the episode goes on, the more kind of Lovecraft-esque elements come. You see like a group of people kind of around a table, and there's this fantastic spread. And if you've ever seen Pan's Labyrinth, you think of like the food, but there's kind of rats and cockroaches and an octopus, and it's really, really weird. If you've ever seen Hannibal, something like that, it's that kind of layout, and these guys are clearly up to no good, and it all runs back to this kind of line of witches that Pickman is said to be related to. There's quite a few time jumps in this, which kind of threw me to the begin with. Like I said, because this is a short story, they've added a heck of a lot of padding, extra characters, and it's quite slow paced considering it's about an hour long. There's a lot of build up to this one, and similar to previous episodes, everything that is really important and happens within the last kind of 10 minutes. There's a lot of kind of padding to get to it, which isn't terrible because the pacing is fine, but you can definitely see that they had to add as much as they could to make this a coherent story. Character played by Ben decides that he doesn't want anything to do with Pickerman anymore. He basically tells him to get out when he turns up at his house. He wants nothing to do with his paintings, and Pickerman kind of is like, okay, but at least keep me in mind. And he's just brushed off basically until they see him for like the last time. In the meantime, he starts having nightmares, especially to do with his family, to do with his son, to do with the chanting that he hears, to do with like cult activity. And he's convinced at this point it's because of the paintings, they're sending him crazy. So he decides once and for all to go back and confront the mad painter, and basically to try and destroy his work. He wants this all taken down. He doesn't want anybody else to kind of fall under the influence of these awful paintings. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want some of these paintings to put up on the wall because they're so freaky and trippy, but I'm not sure which one I would pick. The one thing I will say is with both of these episodes, including obviously the one I'm going to talk about in just a minute, we do have a really good mix of CG and a little bit of practical effects, but this one, especially towards the end of the episode, is really kind of graphic. So if anybody's kind of squeamish, you might want to have a heads up on that one. There isn't really any kind of swearing or anything, but the horror is definitely within the final 10 minutes of this show. Let me say hey to Dadman Walking, says good evening, hope you're all doing well. Doing well, absolutely. Wakasashi said yes, the paintings were awesome, how they were slightly moving, slow and creepy descent into madness. Very much indeed, yeah. They really kind of captured the essence of Lovecraft, and that's pretty much how a lot of his stories go. It is a slow, unrelentless descent into madness, and that's what we have a lot with these characters that Lovecraft wrote. Ineffective heroes, I guess, would be the best way to put them. They're kind of thrust into situations that they have no real way of being able to grapple with, and even though they do their best, the outcome is rarely a happy ending. Jaden says, I believe Del Toro is a Lovecraft fan. He is indeed, yes. For the longest time, I believe he wanted to do his version of the Mountains of Madness. I would love to see it. I think of all the directors, he understands Lovecraft, and I think you could definitely pull it off. Daniel said the original story is very short. It's only 5,000 words. It is, absolutely. It's also part of the Cthulhu mythos, so it's in that vein. Even though it isn't Cthulhu related, it's another one of the old gods that's mentioned in this story. So I won't ruin the ending for you, but it does deviate heavily from the book or the story. So be aware, guys, if you want to jump into this one. I would highly recommend it. Like I said, with all of these episodes, the only one that has been a bit of a letdown for me was the first episode. Everything that has come after, I have really enjoyed, and this episode was no difference. I would give this I'd give it an 8. Like I said, it is slow paced, but sometimes that's okay, because I like the kind of slow descent into insanity that this episode brings, and they really do capture it. The music is fantastic, principal cast is wonderful. Crispin Glover is great. He plays a fantastic role. Ben Barnes, who I haven't seen for a while. I know he does a lot of kind of shows. I think he was in Westworld, if I remember correctly. But the last big film that I remember him in was Prince Caspian from Chronicles of Narnia. But yeah, he played a great role as well. And all of the principal cast in these episodes, they've been so well picked. They really deliver, and this episode was no different. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. Like as Ashley said, the costumes and setting were excellent as well. They were, yeah, they really kind of captured the kind of turn of the century, and all the guys were in bowler hats and suits, and I loved the way they used Miskatonic University. It was a really good. Danielson's Pickman's Model was also an episode of the old Night Gallery TV show. It was, yeah, a lot of people are saying this is very much like Night Gallery, or it's like Hitchcock's work, or it's like Twilight Zone, or any of those other anthology series, and it is to a certain extent, but it's different enough that it's not kind of too similar. But I love anthologies. I've talked about that in the past. And let me say hello to Ptolemy's Minion. Hey, sweetheart, great to see you. Hope you're doing well. And a big thank you to Mrs. Deadman Walking for subscribing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So, guys, episode 5, that was. Highly recommend. Give it a go. Even if you're not a fan of Lovecraft, and I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like him, and that's okay. They're once more trying to cancel him, but I think it's a case of you can separate the art from the artist, and I think Lovecraft, in his own way, was a genius when it came to literature. So let me jump into the next episode. Again, based on a Lovecraft short story, it is Dreams in the Witch House. Let me take a quick drink. Sorry, guys. So, again, this is very much in the theme and the overarching idea of obsession. It's like, can by chasing your dreams lead you to nightmares? And just by watching this episode, yes, it's also a cautionary tale of not meddling in things that shouldn't be meddled with. But this episode stars Rupert Grint, who you guys will obviously know from Harry Potter. He plays the lead character in this, and it's also got Ishmael Cruz Cordova in, who. Oh hi, oh hi, Arondi. It's good to see you. He's actually a great character in this. I don't dislike the actor at all. But if anybody has been watching Rings of Power, that's where he's been recently, obviously. But he is in this, and he plays kind of the secondary character, like a best friend to Rupert Grint's character. Oh God, where did I get to? So this one is by a Catherine Hardwicke, directed by, again, short story based by H.P. Lovecraft, and it's been kind of adjusted for TV again. It's been kind of padded out. Now this is one of the stories that I didn't actually remember very well. I had to actually go look it up. I think another one that's been adapted a few times. I think it was in the Masters of Horror series a while back, and I think it's also been kind of adapted but not shown in other ways. But this story again has been kind of padded out as well for Cabinet of Curiosities. So we have Rupert Grint, and his character is shown first of all as a child with his twin sister. The twin sister is very ill, and she sadly passes away. And as she kind of passes away, she gets kind of drawn into what would be not exactly purgatory, but it's like a realm between realms where the people who aren't ready to pass on go. And this leads to the obsession by her twin brother that he has to get her back, and it leads to a lifelong kind of being devoted to finding mediums or anybody who's able to pierce the veil between the world of the living and the dead, so he can once more get back in touch with the sister that he lost, because he blames himself for not being able to save her as a boy. Which is, it's kind of sad. It's also very much in the vein of, you know, when is it appropriate to let go? When, you know, do you let go, or do you keep the memory of somebody alive? It's kind of it's that story as well. But I kind of liked it, as I said, when he becomes an adult. Walter, who's played by Grint, becomes a member of the Spiritualist Society, and they are dedicated to finding proof of the supernatural. He and his friend Frank, who's played by Cordova, they're basically sent all over the place to investigate possible supernatural events. So they go to fake mediums, to people who say that they can contact the dead, seances, that sort of thing, desperately trying to find somebody who isn't a charlatan, who isn't just kind of faking it and trying to make a quick buck from it. And obviously, the more that he gets let down, the more kind of jaded he becomes, and he's kind of living in poverty because this obsession in trying to find his sister is taking over his life. He was supposed to become a pianist because he was, as a boy, very talented at playing the piano, but he's let that fall to the side. And this kind of is brought up later in the episode when he finally does manage to reconnect with his lost sister, and she says to him, you know, did you manage to become a pianist like you wanted? And he kind of looks down and says, no, I haven't touched the keys in years, not after you died. And I think that surprised her as well, the whole idea that he would let his dreams die as well. Let's see. Daniel says it's fantastic that Del Toro is ignoring those calls and featuring Lovecraft. Indeed, I think so too. Jacob Ironside says, a little bit off topic, but I would have loved to have seen what Del Toro had planned for The Hobbit. Me too. I think he would have brought something fresh and unique to it. ultimately, I am glad that they went with Jackson, but I still don't think we needed 3 films. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen his take on it as well. And let me say hello to Mrs. Deadman Walking. Great to see you. Looking forward to watching this series. I would highly recommend if you want something a little bit spooky, a little bit creepy. Some are more disturbing than others. Some are more psychological, some are more gory. This is a really good kind of anthology series, and at 8 episodes, any of them can be watched in any order as well, which is a nice way to do it. Let me say hey to Soul Assassin. Didn't Houdini do that? Investigate psychics. Yes, indeed. Yeah, Houdini was one of those people, if I remember correctly, that didn't believe in seances and mediums. So it was more to kind of prove that you couldn't pierce the veil between the two worlds. Kind of like the Amazing Randy, if anyone's familiar with him. I think Arthur Conan Doyle as well was kind of obsessed with that side. I know he was one of the people that got fooled by the little cardboard pictures of the fairies. And thank you, Grace. It's these streams have been great. Heading to work soon. Well, thank you. Love to talk about them with you soon, and anybody else who wants to talk about them, because I've been really surprised at how good these episodes have actually been. But let me jump back. So, as I said, eventually our hero manages to find a way to pierce the veil, to reconnect with his little sister, and obviously he wants to bring her back. He wants to bring her back to the real world, but there is a snag. Again, like the previous episode, there is a theme running through of witchcraft, and basically the house that he moves into was once owned by a witch, because of course it was. And this house, the interior is actually amazing. I love the set. It looks like there's vines and roots coming down through the ceiling. Basically it's being held together. There's this huge kind of it looks like mold, I guess it's supposed to be, but it's also supposed to be a portal right above the bed, because of course you would sleep right below this, but it looks like an open wound almost in the ceiling. It's disgusting and it drips. I wouldn't have set foot in that room, but it's also got like runes and pictures just carved into the walls, and there's again another theme that seems to be running through these episodes. There is a rat character. I won't spoil it for you guys, but this rat is not like any of the other rats that we've come across in previous episodes. It's a little bit weird. But this is where this story gets a little bit kind of muddled for me. So basically it's tied in with the whole idea of this witch, and the witch kind of, once they just find out that Walter's trying to bring his sister back, she kind of reincarnates, and this whole again cat and mouse between them, where she needs twins to fulfill the ritual to bring herself back. I will say that the witch character, Keziah Mason, she's called, looks great. The costuming is fantastic. A little bit of CG as well, but other than that, really impressive looking and unique. I've never seen a character like this before, so that was really good. And the setting of this kind of in-between world, which is woods. It's kind of like smoky and it's all gnarled, but there's just people kind of wandering around, kind of in a daze, like they don't really know where they are or where they're supposed to be. These are the people that kind of passed on, but didn't really know where they were supposed to be going, so they're kind of stuck in limbo. It was a really effective scene, or scenes, because you go back there quite a few times to this forest when he's trying to get his sister. The climax of this is, again, it's a little bit of a letdown for me. Again, like the previous episode, everything kind of wraps up in the last 10 minutes or so. So he does manage to get his sister back, but as with all of these episodes, and with Lovecraft in general, it's at a price. And then we get to see the rat character again, which is kind of weird. I've got to admit, I didn't like him. Didn't like the character at all. Didn't like the look of it. Didn't like the voice that they gave it, because this thing does actually talk as well. Let me jump back. Let's see. Um, Lovecraft says, "Gotta run. You have a great night." Thank you. Thank you for being here. Um, Great to see you as always. So this ritual kind of succeeds but doesn't succeed at the same time. And there's a scene in the church which is kind of overblown. I didn't think it was that great. Um, so you can really see where they kind of padded this episode out a little bit. This one was weaker than the previous episode, at least for me. I would probably give it I'd probably give it a 6. Honestly, it wasn't anything to do with the principal cast. You know, Rupert Grint was great. He comes across as kind of desperate, but a little bit naive. As a character, he just wants to get his sister back and to kind of atone for what he sees as failing her as a child, which is where the obsession comes in. It's kind of a strange one. It's I suppose, depending on which way you look at it, there is a happy ending, although not for the characters that you think would have a happy ending. But I liked it. I've got to admit, it was entertaining, but not as good as the previous one. So far for me, it's been 2, 4, and 5 that have been the strongest episodes. But I can find something in all of them. As I said, the cinematography is great. The setting was really good in a lot of these. They really do kind of use the imagination and lighting as well in this. With a lot of these episodes, they're set at kind of the turn of the century, so a lot of use of lamps, candles to illuminate the scenes, which gives it a very atmospheric look. I really enjoyed it. It's a unique way to do it. And again, going back to the accents, you'll have to let me know what you think of the accents, especially for the rat character. But that's pretty much what I thought of these episodes. Again, strong. Looking forward to tomorrow's episodes. So we've got the final 2 to come. We have got the viewing, which I'm not sure if it's based on anything. I cannot remember. But we also have the Murmuring, which is a short story by Del Toro. So the 2 stories that Del Toro wrote bookend the series. So he wrote the first one and he wrote the very last one, which I'm looking forward to seeing. But guys, let me know if you're enjoying it, if you're watching it, or if you consider watching it. I think this has been a really good idea as a lead up to Halloween, and I'm very happy the way that they released it, staggered it, and it's nice to have just a little bit of creepy to talk about. These episodes were slightly longer than the previous ones. I think both of these came in at around about an hour, which is, depending on which way you look at it, kind of good or bad. Some people might say that they were overly long, but each of them had a story to tell, and neither of them dragged. So it worked for me. So, guys, I will be back again tomorrow for the final 2 episodes, same time as the previous evenings. If you are enjoying it, let me know in the comments. I would really love to talk about it some more. I think these episodes are ones that I will go back to as well. Definitely will do repeated viewings of these because I've been impressed with what Del Toro's come up with. So, guys, have a fantastic rest of your evening. A huge thank you to everybody who joined today. You guys are awesome as always. And I will back tomorrow, then back on Saturday and Sunday, because we'll be talking about The Crow, which I'm really looking forward to. So have a great rest of your day, and I will see you again very, very soon, guys. Oops. It skipped on me. I was trying to say goodnight. Take care, everyone, and thank you. Bye.